Chapter 2, the Health and Safety Management System. Subchapter 2.2, From the Standard to the System. As you may have guessed from the title, in this chapter we will see how we can read the standard and build an OH&S system according to the standard. Being compliant to the ISO 45001 standard means building an OH&S system. But how? Many still misinterpret this requirement and think that building a system means just writing procedures and documents. Is it correct? Of course not. Procedures are just a simple way to put your rules into written form in order to prevent them to change without control. There has to be more. What do we mean by more? Building a system means effectively change the way your company works. It means changing your processes. We will see a lot of specific examples of how the 45001 standard requirements can be met. Almost all of them are not to be fulfilled by writing a document. What really matters is the process, aka how your company does something. Of course, your system is made also of procedures and records, but we really want you to focus on the concept that what really matters are processes. Procedures and records matter, but only as a consequence of your processes. That's why you can find, firstly, an arrow that goes from the standard to the processes. And then you will find arrows that go from the processes toward procedures and records. Generally speaking, though, we can say that a system is made of processes, specific way to do something, procedures, written documents in which the process is described in details, records, written documents that register how a specific process took place. So finally, we have a definition of what your OH&S system should be made of. Generally speaking, an OH&S system is made of processes, procedures, records. Processes. A process is something that takes an input and gives out an output. It's the way your company does something. Procedures. A procedure is a written document in which the process is described in details. Who does it, how the process is done, who is responsible for it. Records. A record is a written document that registers how a specific process was done. Focus on the fact that we didn't talk of process, singular. We mentioned processes, plural. Your system is like a machine made of different gears. Each gear is a process. Some processes are simple. Some processes are complicated. Some processes are linked to other processes, and some stand almost by their own. For example, our slide, you can see how process 1 leads to process 2, which leads to process 3, and so on, while process 7 and process 8 lie on their own. When the third party comes each year to your company, his main interest lies in your processes and how you manage them. Of course, it may also need to check all the documents related to your processes, but again, think of procedures and documents as something that comes only after you actually change the way you work. If we want to enter in more practical details, let's start to make some example of processes. Process 1 could be training management. Process 2 could be the management of events such as injuries and near misses. Process 3 could be the way your company gives employees their personal protective equipment, also known as PPE. Process 4 could be the way your company checks that its contractors have all the minimum requirements to work safely, and so on. For each item, we could zoom in and see how that process is linked to specific procedures and records. Let's just pick one. We could pick Process 2, the management of events such as injuries and near misses. For this single process, we can see how it is linked to specific procedures and records. Process. The process is the way your company deals with injuries and management. Immediate response. How injuries, near misses are registered. What action are taken to prevent. Procedure. The procedure related to this process is a document in which your company writes who takes care of the immediate response, how this is done in details, who is responsible of this process. As for the records related to this process could be report of what has been done as immediate response, report of the root cause analysis, report of preventative actions. This example should give you an overall idea of how complex a process could and should be, and what an effective OH&S system should be.